Hello, and welcome to Zero to Something, a place where we talk about founders' journeys, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. So, without further ado, let's get started. You know how some people drain your energy and make you doubt reality, and some even ghost you for a month and then reappear with demands and act like you were the one being unreasonable? We call them toxic. But in startup life, that label gets a bit murky. What do you do when the toxic person is your boss or your co-founder or your client and you actually need them? Let's talk about the darker side of early stage relationships, the ones that corrode your boundaries, hijack your energy, and make you forget this was supposed to be your company. So let's talk about what toxic actually means. Toxic means eroding. It leaves you feeling smaller, unsure, and drained. Some of the common patterns of toxic people is gaslighting, guilt tripping, manipulation, repeated disrespect of your boundaries, overpromising and underdelivering, and then blaming you for that. And also entitlement without commitment, especially when it comes to clients or investors. Not everyone who is difficult is toxic. Some people are just exhausting, but toxicity is about repeated patterns and power imbalance that erode your mental clarity. And I'd like to share my personal experience with a toxic client, the ghost client. We had one department in a major company test our product. They loved it, gave us feedback, asked for custom features. We built some, but not many, just like one or two, so to show good faith. And then there was silence. A month later, they reappeared. They said, "We want to go on with the project. Please give us an invoice. We would like to get started." And then they listed a couple more requests on what they wanted done. So we sent an invoice and we included those requirements into our sprint, right? That we plan every 2 weeks. This time we were a little more cautious. So we didn't build anything. Our idea was we start building the moment that money hits the bank account. And then, you guessed it, silence again. A month later, "Hey, where is that stuff that we asked for?" As if we were in some secret, unpaid full-time contract that nobody knew about. When we said that resources were now allocated elsewhere to actually paying clients, they were offended. We handled it carefully for multiple reasons. First of all, we don't have a known name just yet. And so things like this, it's important. We also were already working with other departments in the same company. So we already had an established relationship with this particular company. And also, we didn't want to burn the bridges, but we also didn't want to be walked on. And this is the toxic client tightrope. They know you need them more than they need you. And they act like it. There are many different relationships where toxicity can pop up. It could be your boss potentially. And if they're toxic and you can leave, leave. No job is worth chronic corrosion and suffering. If it's your co-founder, that is much more complicated. Watch for red flags early on. If it's blame or secrecy, volatility, manipulation, you name it. And there is a reason why they say that partnership in a startup, co-founders, it's like marriage, right? You need to be very careful who you choose to go into that type of partnership with. If toxicity comes from one of your employees, then ask yourself, why are you hesitating to fire somebody who disrespects the team and undermines your processes? Is it fear or guilt, or is it just easier than facing the problem? And then we come to a little more of a complex ground where there is a lot of power dynamics involved. Toxicity coming from clients is especially hard when it's early on. But being early doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a doormat. Your product is valuable and your time is valuable and finite. The client doesn't mean king, and you don't always have to say yes. And then the next one is investors. That is power dynamic to the max, the final boss. If there is manipulation or bullying or gaslighting or anything like that from their side, document it. Document everything and talk to somebody outside your cap table. And the second one is how you deal with it outside of yourself, right? Directly with the toxic person. So let's start with the first part. First, you need to acknowledge that something is off. Don't gaslight yourself into silence. For me, I vent immediately. I'm the type of person who always says what I think. And my co-founder knows exactly when I'm texting that client. Other tools that can be helpful is somatic grounding. Simpler terms, just get into your body. Move your body a little, go for a walk, do a little yoga or dance. Just, shake up your body a bit. Then it's also important to name the pattern. Acknowledge that this isn't just about the one message. It's about the 6 times they disrespected the boundary and 2 times that they ghosted. De-shame it. You're not weak for feeling shaken. These dynamics are destabilizing. And then name the feeling that they provoke in you. Is it dread, guilt, shame, or maybe fear? The feeling tells you what that pattern is exactly. And so now, section 2. How do we deal with it strategically? First and most important, evaluate. Are the benefits outweighing the whole lot of negativity and pain that it's causing you? Because if benefits are not doing that and you're thinking about potentially in the future, walk away. Walk away when it costs more than it gives you. If it's a client who is not paying you or a co-founder that's not respecting you, if it's a team member who's not collaborating, let go. Also, if it's not there yet, have a red line. Think what's a no-go for you. Public disrespect, missed payments or deadlines constantly, threats, gaslighting. Decide before the heat of the moment. Trust me, as a very, very emotional person, it's better to know in advance where it's okay and where you draw the line. And then set those boundaries in words for them to understand. Just kind of like little scripts. Like with us, for example, and that's a very fun client, we talk to them saying constantly, we're happy to revisit this next quarter once the priorities are clearer and we have resources of our software engineers to allocate for your changes. And if you're dealing with somebody outside of your company, try and document as much as you can so you have some things to go back to if it becomes really heated. And finally, protect your team. As a founder, it's your responsibility. If someone external is bullying your team, you are the one stepping in. What are some really obvious signs that it's time to go away now? Well, you're constantly stressed before meeting with them. You feel relief when they cancel. You fantasize about firing them, but don't think you can. You're spending more time managing them than building your product. You start doubting yourself in every other area because of one person. And I can give you our example. When me and my co-founder started saying that we hope a client decides to not go ahead, that's the good time to either walk away completely, set a very strict boundary. I know the word toxic is so overused. It's thrown left and right. But the opposite problem also exists. Founders who excuse red flags because we're still early or every client is hard at first. Don't justify. Don't accommodate for every single person. Start protecting the company you're trying to build and the person trying to build it. In general, as founders, we have to put up with a lot in the name of survival. But just because somebody writes a check or promises one even without it being written, it doesn't mean they get to drive you insane. And you're absolutely allowed to walk away or say no or do anything to protect your energy, sometimes at the cost of a client. And that's not necessarily being unprofessional. That's being a person with a backbone and a founder who respects his product and time. And as always, I want to leave you with 2 prompts to reflect on. Where in your work life are you tolerating toxicity in the name of potential? And number 2, what would it look like to protect your boundaries, even if it feels risky? Thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next episode.